builder items being released while I was away was the easiest call I've ever made. But now that we have all of the team building items for NHL 25, we can now do a breakdown of how that event list went and go over the new 99 Zdeno Chara and Jaromir Jagr. So like every year, Zdeno Chara coming out at the end of the season because he is an absolute unit. In this game, speed is king, but if you combined 99 speed with someone who is 6'9", there is just few cards that could ever be released that would come anywhere near it. Now, Zdeno Chara, the left-handed defenseman, comes with offensive and two-way, as well as pinpoint and power shooting, and then defensive and checking boost to round it out. They also have free zone abilities, which again is just another super confusing aspect of team building items this year. But nonetheless, giving 99 Zdeno Chara gold truculence just makes this an absolutely hilarious, fun card. He's got in reverse, meaning that you can skate backwards, keeping the play in front of you and not losing a step. Elite edges, one of the best abilities in the game, quick pick, and thunderclap. Outside of having shutdown, which isn't nearly as necessary because he has truculence, and maybe Heat Seeker instead of Thunderclap, but I agree with Thunderclap being on Zdeno Chara. This is the perfect card. I also love that they went with the love this card top to bottom. If they're going to make cards extremely expensive, Zdeno Chara is a perfect fit. And joining him is the 99 Jaromir Jagr at 6'3", 254. He's got playmaking and sniper forward, deking and agility boost, and pinpoint and power shooting boost with gold unstoppable force, beauty backhand, puck on a string, elite edges, and snipe. Now again, 99s across the board. The only issue with Jaromir Jagr is that they went with a winger instead of a centerman, and that is the smallest of nitpicks here. Because again, this is one of the more perfect cards that you can have. No complaints here at all. Jaromir Jagr is a great option as well. When it comes to the 299s, I think they did really well. Now to make Zdeno Chara or Jaromir Jagr, it operates exactly the same as it has in years past. You were going to need 2 of the prior release, which is actually a pretty crazy value considering they did a +4 overall jump. 2 of the 95s, meaning Brent Burns as one of them, as well as Dave Anderchuk. By trading both of them in, you can get one of the new 99 team building items. However, one of the most unexpected things in a year that has just been super confusing from a content standpoint, we've also got this 592 overall item trade-in for a 95 overall team building choice pack. Which means by making 2 of these, you can make Jagr or Chara. And when you go and look at the auction house, 92 and above items are going for 30,000 coins. Meaning that this set, if you were to just use coins to buy things from the auction house, is only going to run you about 150,000 coins, or 300,000 total for a 99 overall player. Hands down, the best value that we've had in this game this year, and potentially ever when you consider EA values 99 overall cards to just an insane degree. I do want to touch on the team building packs in the store because throughout the year, this was the best value to make team building items. However, given the state of the auction house, EA's economy does not take into account what cards are going for, so 202,000 coins, which might have been decent value before this recent set, is nowhere near the same value that you could just do. Again, 202,000 coins for a 92, you need 2 of them to make a 95, so 400,000 coins, or you could just spend 300,000 and get a 99. So again, just kind of confusing here. Which leads me to my thoughts on the team building items as a whole from the start of the year. I think they perfectly represent the absolutely confusing behavior of the content team, and one of the biggest issues that the general community has with the HUT content team this year, and that is just there's no trust in what they're actually spending their either time or money on. So here is what I mean. Let's just start all the way down at the bottom with the 83 overall team building items that came out, which is pretty standard, par for the course. Every team gets one at the beginning of the year, and then you would trade the team building items in for an 86 overall team building item. Again, extremely standard. The issue right off the bat with that, however, was that they reduced the overalls and just the amount of cards that we receive when the XP path was dropped. And if you've been playing since the start of the game, silver cards were going for over 5,000 coins per, which in prior years would have just been absolutely absurd. And because it costs 1677 and above items at launch of the game, 5,000 coins per, you're looking at about 80,000 coins for an 83 overall. Times that by 6, and you were looking at almost 500,000 coins at launch of the game for an 86 overall team building item. Now, I can give them a pass because they didn't know how the economy would flush out when they made these drastic changes, but therein kind of lies the issue. They made such a drastic change to the economy without any thought process of changing the normal functions of cards that we chase after, which really just set the year off on a really bad note. However, I do want to point out yet again that they did do a course correction and release packs in the store for team building items that were actually really good value for coins, which is something, again, extremely rare from EA Sports, but it was an issue that didn't need to be solved if this was just ironed out beforehand that they were going to do these massive reductions. They could have just reduced the amount of cards needed to make one of the 86s, and so on and so forth. Next, the upgrade amount. So, the first release of 86 overall items makes sense. There was 5 of them, and then there was 5 89s, 6 if you include Alita Mueller, which again is pretty par for the course. Usually there is more team builders than what we have available to us, meaning that you'll have to make extra 86 overalls if you wanted to get all of the 89s, which again is extremely normal. And the same thing was true when the 92s were released. There was 4 92s, you would have to make at least one more 89 if you wanted to acquire them all. And then for whatever reason, there was only 2 95 overall items, which again, in hindsight for the player base, not bad at all, but you would have had players that actually made more 92s expecting the multiple 95 drop to happen. And then you went 95 to 99 after waiting forever for team builder items. If they followed the same upgrade path, it would have gone 95 to 98, and obviously that is a disaster, but that could have just been solved by making the team builder items 87 at launch, and then maybe the cost would have been slightly more justified. And then to top it all off, team builder items for whatever reason had an ability point cost. However, the hologram items, they didn't have any ability point cost, nor did the charged X factors, so that was still on the table to have cards that are extremely expensive and hard to acquire or build have free abilities. Which again, okay, that's fine if that's the way you want to go, but then they changed it again and made all of the 99s, Chara and Yara, have free zone abilities. There's just no consistency. This entire year-long chase build, one of the more exciting features of NHL's content over the last few years, just made no sense start to finish, and it was so largely ignored because of it. And then lastly, this set. I love this set for 95% of the player base. The fact that it's basically August, and they essentially gave away 2 99 overall players that are unbelievable, mind you. I love that for all of the player base. However, the players that went all year upgrading their team building items like they have in the last 4 years, the amount of coins spent to make multiple Brent Burns and Anderchucks to trade in when I could just log in and make this is a pretty tough look to your most hardcore player base. I make it a note of my channel whenever I give feedback and have opinions, I try and take the entire player base in mind. So like I mentioned, it's August, and I love that almost every single player can acquire these cards fairly easily. It's just, I don't know how the hardcore players that you're going to have all year long are going to trust any sort of year-long build because they just moved the goalposts on this already established type of content so much so that you just have to avoid it. And you might miss out next year because they might make all of these crazy changes and revert back and make it more of a streamlined process. I've talked about this a lot, that I really think they're just going to almost completely remove year-long chase cards. I have no actual proof of that. It is just reading what's on the wall this year because there has just been so little consistency, and that's something that I hope changes. And I think that there is definitely room for that, and I think that that is a strong possibility. I know that they get the actual data that shows what sets are being done and what cards are being purchased, things like that. And team builders, again, were reacted to. No one is making them, so let's release packs that people can afford. So I know that they can make real-time adjustments to content like this. I just hope that there's less real-time adjustments and more of a plan in place year-long that we can actually follow and be excited about throughout the entire year. I think knowing all of the content that's coming out is a really bad thing. And to be fair, I think a lot of the community had fallen into that, especially the hardcore player base, where you knew it was fantasy early on, save everything for team of the year, and then save for team of the season, and you sprinkle in some team builders and X factors, and your team is locked, and they clearly were trying to undo that, and I can respect that. However, going into this year, if they are going to do year-long chase cards, there needs to be some trust earned from your most dedicated player base. The ones that are going to go out and make these year-long chase cards, there's no reason to not release information on how you're going to upgrade them. And if you can't come out with a plan because you don't want to be pigeonholed to follow this format for team builder items specifically, then I gotta ask, like, that's an issue with planning. Now, you never give criticism without giving your own opinions. Here is what I would do next year for team builder items. First thing would be to make sure that it ends up at 99 with a steady upgrade path. So instead of 86 and then at the end you're kind of stuck with 95 to 99, start it at 87. Next, because they are expensive no matter what, give them free zone abilities. Make these cards worth going after because they are more valuable than traditional master set player items. Give them free abilities. And if there is going to be no change in the amount of cards given out or the amount of cards released in general, then you need to address the fact that 1677 and above items early on for the first 2 months are going to be exceptionally expensive yet again. To fix this, any Detroit Red Wing card will work towards the 83 overall Brendan Shanahan. Doesn't matter if it's bronze, as long as it is a Detroit Red Wing item, it can go in here. That would solve a lot of the issues and really prop up lower valued cards as well. That would give us far more of an opportunity to actually make these sets instead of just waiting for cards in the store. Every XP path should have multiple of the lowest overall team builder items, and then you can scale them as we get later on into the year. At launch of the game in the first season, throw in 3 83 overall team builder items, enough to make half of one. That way that it can really cut down the cost and allow a lot of the player base to actually access them. And then lastly, just tell us when they're coming out. You don't have to do it with every event, but with the team builder items, let us know when it's coming. When should we expect it? Half the frustration was going on Reddit and just being like, LOL, no team builders. Again, would help with trust and consistency. Let me know what you think about team builders in this year's game. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback as well. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.